loving, caring, and peaceful English people, please subscribe, like, and share my videos on revenge, because your gesture of kindness matters a lot to me. Now, let's dive into today's masterpiece revenge story. Imagine your best friend turning into your worst nightmare. You move into his place, thinking it'll be fun, but suddenly it's my house, my rules, every single day. He threatened to kick me out so many times, so I blindsided him. I moved out without telling him, and the look on his face when my parents showed up with boxes. Priceless. If you've ever had a friend abuse your trust, you'll love the revenge in this one. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your own stories in the comments. I read them all. This goes back to the early 2000s, when I first left home to attend university. I made a good friend in student halls, let's call him Donald. After our first year, we ended up moving into a house share with 2 other mates. When that lease ended, Donald, who had quit uni and started working at a bank, bought his own flat. He offered me the spare room, and since we'd been friends for 3 years at that point, it felt like the obvious choice. At first, things were okay, but slowly, Donald started to change. He became antisocial. Mutual friends stopped visiting because he made them feel unwelcome, tossing out insults and then brushing it off with, "It's just a joke." He stopped coming out on nights with us and instead spent more and more time with his annoying aunt, who popped round nearly every other day. Then came the money issues. One day, he announced he was getting cable TV and said I'd have to pay for half. I was a student, working a part-time retail job to pay my way through uni. I told him I couldn't really afford it. His reply? "Then you don't get a say on what I watch on my TV." That was the first red flag, but it got worse. He grew lazier with chores and would gaslight me into thinking it was always my turn. If he came home and saw dishes in the sink or bins not taken out, he'd fly off the handle. When I tried to point out that I was also working 4 days a week on top of uni, he snapped back with his favourite line, "My house, my rules. Maybe we should rethink you living here if you don't like it." That became his mantra. My house, my rules. Over and over. I got tired. I spent more time in my room, barely engaging with him. The friendship that once felt so solid was dead. Then, through a friend of a friend, I heard about someone looking for a roommate. I met them, liked the vibe, and agreed to take the room. My parents knew how miserable I was living with Donald and offered to drive up and help me move. I planned everything in secret. I didn't tell Donald a word. 2 weeks later, my parents showed up early on a Saturday, boxes in hand, ready to move me out. Donald came out of his room, suddenly all smiles. He turned on the charm for my parents, acting like we were still best buds. "I didn't know you were coming to visit," he said cheerily to my mum. And that's when I dropped the bomb. "They're not visiting. They're here to move me out. I've got a new flat. You kept saying maybe I should leave if I didn't like your rules. So I did." His face fell. He stared, waiting for someone to laugh, waiting for it to be a joke. But it wasn't. He sulked off to his room, avoiding us as my parents and I packed everything. It only took 2 trips, maybe an hour, and I was gone. I didn't even say goodbye. I just left the keys on the coffee table and walked out the door. A few hours later, in my new flat, I got a text from him. "I'm really sorry for the way I behaved. I hope we can still be friends." I replied with one single thing. "Ha ha 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 ha." And that was the last time we ever spoke. Years later, a mutual friend told me Donald couldn't afford the mortgage on his flat without my rent. No one wanted to move in with him. Word had spread about how he treated me. He had to sell the place, quit his job, and move back in with his mum. Meanwhile, my new roommate became one of my best friends, and we're still close to this day. The most satisfying part? Blindsiding him. He'd spent months saying, "My house, my rules, maybe you should leave." So I did. The look on his face when he realized he'd pushed too far was priceless. He lost a tenant, a friend, and eventually his flat. And me? I gained peace, freedom, and a lifelong friend. Sometimes revenge isn't loud or explosive. Sometimes it's just walking away on your own terms and leaving the entitled person to deal with the mess they created. What do you think? Would you have confronted him first or done exactly what I did, a silent move out? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for more satisfying real-life revenge stories.